You ready to go?
All set,
All
sir.
righty. Well, good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone who's joined us in this morning, and we'll officially call to order this agenda review workshop meeting of the Florida Virtual Schools Board of Trustees. The purpose of this workshop is to develop and discuss agenda items which may be presented to the board for consideration and potential action at its March 2nd, 2021 regular meeting. Before we begin, I would like also to acknowledge and note my sincere appreciation to the attendance and contributions of my fellow board members, our CEO, Dr. Luis Alvarez, and all the Florida Virtual School staff members who have prepared us for this workshop. And I really do, over the time, appreciate all the hard work and all the information that you do provide to us. It really helps, and it helps us keep on track. So with that, we'll proceed with the roll call. Mr. Moore, would you please call the roll?
Dr. John Wartrett.
Here.
Ms. Linda Ryder.
Here.
Mr. Robert Conarans.
Here.
Mr. Edward Pozzoli.
Here.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Next, I'd like to open the floor for any opening remarks from my fellow board members. Madam Co-Chair, Ms. Ryder, Linda Ryder.
I just want to thank everybody for putting this together. You guys do an amazing job, and you help to make us all look good. So thank you very much.
Board member Conahans.
Yeah, pleasure serving, and the conversations we have one-on-one to get up to speed and everything we need to know about our organization has been just great so far, and just appreciate everybody's patience with my lack of knowledge in the education system and bringing a business perspective to it. I think I'm really enjoying the whole thing.
Good, thank you. And board member Ed Pozzoli.
I wanted to thank Dr. A and his team. They do a great job in preparing us, so thank you.
And I'll second and all those comments onto it. The one-on-one presentations on the different IT part, the LMS and all the stuff has been really appreciated, and it's great. It's great to see how the quality of the programs that you're delivering and the professionalism that you put forward to make it all happen. So thank you for that. So with that, now I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Alvarez to lead today's presentation and discuss the proposed agenda items. Dr. Alvarez.
Thank you, sir. And it's a pleasure working with all of you. The passion that you all have exhibited just right out of the gate to help support the school and the kids is amazing, and we're really very fortunate to have you all here. Today's purpose is to review the agenda for the March 2nd board meeting. The outline was sent to you so you can follow along. The outline contains links to specific files that we'll review today. There will be some individuals that will come on board and explain them for you. And feel free to ask questions along the way. And if it doesn't get answered today, during the week, if anything comes up in your mind that you'd like an answer to the next few weeks before the actual meeting, feel free to reach out and we'll be glad to help. We're going to share a special highlight, but I wanted to go ahead and the CEO comments, reports, and presentation from our full-time school. As is obvious, we've seen an extensive growth in new students across every grade level in full-time. And we're often asked, can virtual education help students with disabilities? And it's a complex question, but it's one that we take very seriously. Virtual education can help students with proper attention and personal care from teachers and staff that each unique student may require to succeed. This school year, we had 826 ESE students with individualized education plans. To put that in perspective, most brick and mortar schools do not have that many unless they're a specialized center. And of course, ours are from throughout the entire state. That's a 158% increase for us over the prior school year. And last year, we had a 100% graduation rate for our seniors with disabilities. There were a total of 33 students, and each and every single one of them graduated. We're aiming to finish this school year equally as strong with almost double the number of seniors. We have 64 students currently with IEPs that are seniors. And in order to help them, just to give some of the words and the terms that you'll hear, our students with disability, we have a multi-tiered system of support, which you'll hear as MTSS, which includes academic, behavior, and social emotional support for students. And we have a bunch of professionals who are actively engaged with students virtually that include resource intervention teachers, exceptional student education teachers, ESE or SPED, depending on which term you're familiar with, mental health professionals, speech language therapists, occupational therapists, and physical therapists. We're committed to ensuring that virtual education is equally as effective and accessible to all students, regardless of their unique circumstances or disabilities. And in many cases, we are a better choice for the student than the brick and mortar environment. In future meetings, I'll continue to share updates such as these with you. So I'll go ahead and continue with the other items that are going to be covered today. On March 2nd, I'll be giving an update on our budget report. It'll be more up to date than one I'll show you momentarily. And then Gina Tovine, Senior Director of Analysis, Assessment, and Accountability, she's going to provide an update on our accreditation renewal process, as well as our AP results from May 2020 AP exams. And just to give you a highlight of the prior month, it doesn't have January, ending January, because we're about to wrap that one up here. Give me 1 second. Can you all see the screen okay?
Yep.
All right. So these are completions, the number of semester courses that are completed, whether they were completed or are estimated. This blue first column here is through June of 2019. The reddish one over here is the same time frame, but for 2020. I'm sorry, not June, December. From July 1st to December 13th, 2019, this blue, and the orange is through December 31st, 2020. The green is the entire prior year through June 30th of 2020, and the purple is the estimated current year. So these are 6-month intervals, roughly, from July 1st to December 31st. And then, I said 13th, didn't I? 31st. And then these are the year-longs comparisons. This is our flex program. And again, these are the number of completions. So we completed 468,432, or students completed this many semester courses. And we're expecting this many this year, 562,428. Virtual learning labs, which are in the brick and mortar locations. The prior year was 12,409 for the 6-month period, and this year 13,418, and for the entire year 32,689 to 32,572. So about the same, a little bit less. And then our full-time program, the 6-month period went from 23,204 to 63,359, and the year long went from 59,960 to 131,710 in terms of total completions.
So and these numbers refer to courses taken as opposed to headcount, correct?
Correct. Semester courses. So some kids might, well, like in this purple 562, many of the kids will take 2 courses because they're 2 semesters. We have them broken down by semesters. In terms of funding, that follows those completions in terms of converting those to FTE, which are full-time equivalent students. So 12 completions is the equivalent of a full-time student. And so in terms of funding, this was our beginning fund balance from the 2020 year. And this is where it was at what we're estimating June 30th to end at. Here's the revenue. So the actual revenue, as was mentioned with the Executive Order 7, dropped because of that executive order. And then this is the year to date. We're expecting an increase overall by the time, I'm sorry, this was Executive Order 6 that made it drop. Executive Order 7 gave us some of it back for the 2nd semester. So by the end of the year, we're expecting to have more revenue than this year. These are our obligations, what's still remaining for the end of the year that we still have to pay out in terms of salaries, et cetera. And then these are the expenditures, what we've already spent from one year, half year to the next, and then this year to the, again, the purple's the estimated. And primarily this is almost completely personnel, primarily almost completely teachers in order to serve the kids that came to us. And then finally, our ending fund balance for the 6-month periods comparison, and then for the year comparison. And that's for the general fund. And these are our enterprise funds, the franchises and our global revenue. So these are the fund balances in those accounts. Again, the prior year and the expected end this year. This is the actual revenue for the 6-month period, and then the green purple is the year-long period. The obligations and the expenditures. Transfers out go for different things, for example, to the curriculum department in order to continue maintaining the curriculum and other costs that get transferred out. And then finally, the ending fund balance is what we're expecting. And that's the enterprise funds. So as was mentioned before, the enterprise funds have helped quite a bit. So we're hoping to have through, for example, the obligations through to the end of January by the time the March meeting rolls around. So then the next section of the meeting will be the minutes for you all to approve. We have 2 sets for the November 17th quarterly meeting and then for the December 15th workshop meeting. Following that, we'll have contracts. Joanne Sarah will go over those 2, the Blue Cross Blue Shield and the IT staff augmentation one. And after that, the 2 employment contracts, which are myself, the CEO, and our general counsel, in order to effectuate those contracts with this board. Then we'll have annual reports. You saw the quarterly staff data report. You'll have that all the time, which includes new hires, separations, leave of absences, et cetera, from one quarter to the next. The PACE is a service that we use for accreditation. I'm sorry, for credentialing the teachers. And this has to do with add-on endorsements for gifted and autism. The school calendar will be brought in front of you for the next school year to approve, and the facilities disposal of assets will also be brought. Again, these are all attached on the agenda that was sent to you all. If you want to go through them in more detail and reach out to us. If you already did it and have any questions, we can certainly answer them now, or if not, we can come back at any time from now to the meeting to clarify anything you might need. Following that, we'll have finance matters. You have 1 finance item for consent approval, and she'll be reviewing it, and which has to do with accounts receivable debt write-off. And is Kim there? Can you bring up Kim, please, Joe?
Yes, sir. She's moving out.
Thank you. So Kim Poling, our Senior Director for Finance, is going to go ahead and describe that for you and what it entails. Morning, Kim.
Good morning. Good morning, board. So you're talking about the consent agenda item for the accounts receivable write-offs?
Correct.
Is that the one you're going over? Okay. So it is recommended that the FLVS Board of Trustees approve the write-off of some accounts receivable deemed as bad debt. Of the $100,553 total amount, there are 2 customers that make up the bulk of the write-offs. It is Indiana Virtual School, invoice 28789 for $59,370. The school has gone bankrupt. And then Francis Marion Military Academy, invoices 21527 and 22551 in the amount of $34,775, and this school has closed. So of the bulk of the $100,553 that we're asking for write-off, those two customers make up the bulk.
And could you explain how long those were out there, Kim?
It's been past 121 days, but they're actually in the 400 days. So let me send that schedule to you. I don't have it with me. I didn't print it out this morning. So
Right. The point being that it's been several years and we've been trying to collect.
Yes.
And
Is the Indiana Virtual School, it's declared bankruptcy, but is it still operating?
It is not operating to my knowledge. We have reached out several times, have heard nothing. David may know a little bit more as we turn this information over to legal for follow-up a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And how long has that been on our receivables?
It's been on for at least 2 years that I can recall. I don't have the information in front of me right now, but I can follow up to let you know for sure.
There was an explanation of that in the backup items, I believe, or will be.
Yeah, I was just curious when we get our, audited statements, what the comments were regarding.
I declare, on the financial report, I declared them as uncollectible items. So they've already been deemed uncollectible on the financial report.
Basically, and I can explain this more, and I think that the backup items do explain this well. With respect to the charters, where you're dealing with essentially charters that have gone under with debts due and owing to their sponsor school district. One of the charters is out of state. So there really is nothing further. There's no source of collection under law unless and until the Florida Virtual School, would seek some sort of legal action against our sister school districts. And really, that would be unwise and a long shot anyway. And that much was concluded, I think, more than a year ago. So these things have just kind of sat there, and we need to put it on the records as a loss should the board see that fit.
Just as point of interest, was this an ongoing venture with both of these schools, or was it the first time we had engaged with them and it ended up being poor?
Yeah, it was the first time we engaged with them, and we didn't really have any other ones that we had issues with. So this was our one and done, so to speak.
And generally speaking, what is our bad debt percentage relative to revenue?
Well, I think, oh yeah, I did print this stuff out. Sorry. So
I want to put it in context. I think it's important.
Yeah.
Yeah. So of the
It looks like 0.0004%.
yeah, it's really small.
So I wasn't looking for an exact number. I was more looking like it's really, really small.
It's really, really small.
But that's a great number.
Yeah, it is.
I wish I had that.
Exactly, Rob. That's the point.
Yeah, it is very small.
I was more curious on, do we have a policy on how, I know we've been lacking a board and everything, but would seem prudent to have a certain amount of time, shorter than 2 years that we vote on it. And I'm sure going forward.
Absolutely. And one of the reasons we didn't bring this back to the prior board is because of the lack of authority that they had to make many of those decisions. And we've been trying and trying, even though it's 0.0004, that's still $100,000, which just, bothers the heck out of me to lose even a dollar, as Kim will tell you, because I kept on going back, hey, the collections, et cetera. But it comes a point that, we're just throwing good money after bad if they're not going to be able to pay it, regardless of how much we chase them. So yeah, they will be coming forward more often. They don't happen often. The other ones are very small ones, or relatively small ones that are individual families, et cetera. So, and again, I think there's an attachment there that'll be more a spreadsheet that has pretty much all the reasons for those.
I understand the two schools. The other smaller amounts, the AAA scholarship, and some of these other things totaling a mass of $4,500. What are those? How do they come about?
Whenever it's different situations, but for those, what could happen is the student will sign up for our class, and sometimes they'll want us to just invoice the scholarship, AAA or the Family Empowerment Scholarship organization. While we're waiting for the authorization from a parent to authorize us to actually bill the organization, we like to go ahead and get the student in and get them started so they can start taking the class. Well, sometimes in between, we will not get that email to authorize us to allow us to invoice the organization, and that's something that we're working on as far as our processes go. But there are different situations.
Okay.
So it's something that we need to work on with our processes, and just making sure that we have a really good workflow. As we're getting more scholarships, this is relatively taken off in the since COVID. We really didn't have a lot of scholarship invoices, but since COVID, and especially beginning in March of 2020 and subsequently, this program has really taken off.
And with the change in the legislature, we're foreseeing that there might be a lot more kids using scholarships, the proposed changes in legislature.
Okay, so in terms of, is this the scholarship not paying, or is it the family contribution after scholarship that's causing this debt?
It's the scholarship recipients are getting the money, and then they're using it, say, in a different, like a lot of these are private schools, and then the private schools contract the lab, but we're not getting the money because the state's not going to give us any money because they already gave the scholarship money to the recipient of the scholarship.
Right, and to get back to your question, the Indiana Virtual School is 427 days old, so it's been on our books for quite a while.
Yeah. The long and short of it, if I may, is that, of course, the legislature power the purse, then administrators of that scholarship / grant money, all of the scholarships really, and then from there distributed to various participants. The way I like to think of it is it is set up right now statutorily that a dollar goes through the hands of no fewer than at least 10 people before it actually gets to the beneficiary, the parent and the student. And I think that the legislature is, as Dr. A noted, really motivated to fix that and make it more user-friendly and available. And that is to the students and the parents. And we certainly hope to avoid this type of concern in the future. And it's not just ours, it's really anyone that those kids come to, other than their school where they want to make use of, their assigned school, I should say, and where they want to make use of those FTE and scholarship funds.
Okay.
And then Francis Marion, just to let you know, is one invoice is 956 days old and the other one is 854 days old. So those three are the largest ones.
Are you recommending that those three write-offs be turned over to legal and then legal will provide some sort of response back to the board, or has that already been done?
That's already been done.
Okay.
So yeah, at this point, what we're, after doing all those things, we're requesting that the board approve writing it off as bad receivables. All right. Any other questions about that item? Because I wanted to go back to a couple of the contracts that I did want you to get enough information on it before you voted on it for the Blue Cross and Blue Shield Amendment contract and the ITS staff augmentation. So Joe, if you can bring up Joanne, please.
Can we, when we approve writing those off, ask that we have a SOP for bad debt and receivables drawn up?
Yes, sir.
And it's worth noting in the legal authority section of the cover sheet for these items, it is noted, the statute that authorized them and explains them, and also our current board policy P14 or something like that is noted, and that was strictly complied with.
F014.
I was close.
All right, Joanne.
Good morning. Thank you, Dr. Algaze. I've got two items for you for procurement this morning. The first item is Blue Cross and Blue Shield doing business as Florida Prime for, we have an amendment for you today. This amendment is specific for our employee prescription drug benefits program. And this is actually to memorialize, this is a good news story, some negotiated discounts for our pharmaceutical program that our employees participate in. The reduction or the discounts is primarily in the form of rebates and will be for this current fiscal year. We anticipate saving about $750,000 through the rebates. We've negotiated this in cooperation with our benefits provider, Gallagher Benefits Group. And that's really it. It's a pretty simple amendment, saving us some money. Any questions on that item?
No, it looks straightforward.
Very good. The second item we have is the information technology staff augmentation. This is a solicitation that is conducted by the Florida Department of Management Services, the Florida DMS, the state procurement agency. We piggyback on this contract for the term to use the services for a variety of IT staff aug positions to fill the gaps in these areas on an as needed basis. Piggyback really essentially means that we're utilizing their solicitation to leverage their pricing, their terms and conditions that all comply with state statute. We use these anywhere from filling the gaps in our IT department to for project management services, for projects themselves. We estimate that this year we'll spend approximately $3 million. We're not asking for expenditures beyond what's already approved in the budget. Each department, before they seek the services under this contract, verify that they have the budget in their allotted departments. Any questions on that or the piggybacking method or the tool that we're using here?
All right.
Silence is good.
Yep, all good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. All right. So we discussed there's one more item for the consent agenda, and that is the foundation. Mike Miller's there. If we can speak to that, Mike.
Yeah, this is on the foundation. We are approving our 2 new board members, as well as just making you aware of the other board members that are currently on the board as we speak. And it is a pleasure to welcome these 2 new members of the board. I actually served in the legislature with one of them, Mike LaRosa, a great addition to our board.
So on this, I mean, this is something maybe at another time, but it would be interesting to get some information on the the foundation operations and how it's functioning.
Sure, and actually we'd be happy to do that. I know we just brought on a new board clerk, a lady named Beth Bruner, who it'd be a pleasure to introduce you to her. And our foundation director, Renee Placencia, has done a wonderful job. He helped with our in-service this year and was able to bring on some sponsorship money that helped us underwrite our in-service days. So be happy to do that, Chairman.
And I also had a question about the board. Who actually nominates? How are they nominated, and how are their terms continued and all that?
Well, they're nominated by the executive director, who goes. Well, I guess not the executive director. It'd be the existing board members, and so Chair Beecham would make the nomination, and then they would approve the board membership, tentative to us approving it on the big board level, as we're trying to do today.
Not us, you. You all as a board have to approve the foundation board members.
So do we get bios on each of these people to fully understand?
As a matter of fact, sir, I do have bios, and I was planning to share those with you before the big board meeting in March.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've got the same, I would like to know more about the foundation because, just approve 2 board members and not have a lot of information on it and what they are. It's just reading an article on or our friends at Orlando Sun Sentinel on the board appointees for the water districts, and make sure their background is suitable for the foundation.
Understandable, and again, I will provide background bios on all the existing and proposed board members for your review.
Yes, and this was, it wasn't a centerpiece that I recall in my 2-hour harangue in talking about, when you first came on board, and where I talked about the recommendations of the FDOE and what it is that we're looking to do, what we're authorized to do. This is one of, several items speaking to the just normalizing governance of the organization and treating the foundation just like any other direct service organization. We call it a supplemental organization, support organization. And it is routine, and you'll actually see it in the statutes for all school districts, DOE, agencies throughout the state, boards throughout the state, to approve nominees for their supporting foundation, and that's it. Okay, that's it. So when you talk about the who nominates, Madam Co-Chair, that is really the foundation's thing. It has its own bylaws, it has its own governing documents, and then it simply, the nominees' names come to this board for approval, or not.
And
If I can, it would be nice if we better understood the underlying purpose of the foundation and how it interacted with us and the team. And so this way we can review those resumes with that knowledge.
Sure.
Oh, general question. In terms of major gifts coming in, are they approved by the foundation, or are they approved through the foundation to the board, us?
Now, it's my understanding they're approved by their board. They're doing the fundraising, and they're doing the efforts to supplement our efforts to help, with whatever projects and missions that we mutually agree upon. So,
and David has more clarification on that.
Yeah, and I can give you, I call it a cheat sheet. I'm going to provide to you a guidance memo, an OGC memo, giving you a snapshot of all of this. that should be, hopefully explanatory to you. And if it isn't, please let me know. That'll answer these questions to the best of my ability. But I'll tell you this, that there is in our statute, your enabling statute, a dynamic where it is really up to the CEO to veto or approve, on the other hand, proposed expenditures of the foundation with, of course, a consultation with this board. So that's a little bit of a distinction. And it's in, governing law. That's the only real distinction that we have to any other of those agencies and boards to their foundations. And again, I'll try my best to provide for a brief synopsis of that in a memo.
And overall, is the foundation working well and performing for the virtual school?
It's not performing to where I'd like it to be. So we're working through that right now. We did have some growing pains because when I first got here, some of the members had to leave because I wanted to make sure there was no conflict of interest between any member of the board of the foundation board and Florida Virtual School. So you can feel comfortable with the members that are there now have no conflict of interest in terms of doing any business with Florida Virtual School. So that was step number one. And now we're working on in terms of fundraising and being able to provide funds to help our students, to help our teachers get their training, et cetera.
And on a positive note, we did have some success with some fundraising and some support, as I mentioned earlier, with our in-service days, where we were able to help underwrite some of the efforts we do to help teachers with their continuing education and the spirit of the school. So there has been some momentum, but we would like, with the additional board members and with further clarification with you guys, to really get a plan together to have that foundation take off.
Okay, thank you.
So I'd like to have a better understanding, I think, to all the board members as to the purpose and activities of the board, who's on the board, because I think from a defensive standpoint, the public is not going to really understand the nuanced difference between the board of trustees versus the foundation. And so, just to be safe, I'd like for us to understand that. And Dr. A, I would appreciate whatever expenditures they do make. Since you have to approve it, I think would be at least initially appropriate for us to be advised.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
initially and continually.
I would concur with board member Pizzula's viewpoints, because ultimately, if something goes awry, it comes onto our shoulders.
I think the question is, where do we meet and where don't we? Like, what do we have control over and what don't we? That's what I think I'm more confused about. And I think it sounds like everybody else is a little bit.
And that's a great question. I had the same question when I came on board. And David will get that memo out to you that will have that more clearer.
Yes, I will do my best. And that was definitely something that it appears tied both organizations into a bit of a pretzel in years past. Where untying that, I'll explain to the best of my ability that much in a memo. And then, of course, if you all have any questions, even during the meeting, of course, that's the time and place. If you don't have all your answers and don't feel fully informed by then.
Maybe, and I'm not sure whether it can be done as a group or whether we do it like we've done with the LMS and the IT. We do a one-on-one with each of us from maybe the board or representatives from the foundation, so that we get to know them and hear from them what their goals and how it's functioning.
Great idea. And meanwhile, Mr. Moore, if you could get like the last 3 or 4 minutes for the foundation, Mike Miller can help you with that.
Sure.
And forward all that to the board members so that they can peruse it at their leisure.
Dr. A, this is not, I mean, let me just say this. While I think we need more information to get a better understanding of the relationship and the purpose of the foundation, this is not an unusual setup. Many public boards have foundations in order to raise money and do some other things, but I think just to be better informed, inform the trustees a little bit more about
Yeah,
underlying
and
purpose and who's there.
And my point from the beginning is to make you all feel as comfortable as possible with any information that comes in front of you. So absolutely, we'll follow through on these things to make sure that you have whatever information you need to feel comfortable.
That is correct. I think you'll be impressed with our board. The chairman especially is working really hard, and I think you'll be impressed once we fill you in with the detail.
Excellent. Thank you.
Do we have can we get us just a sense of how much how much they've raised and how much we give out a year?
I actually don't have that number in front of me right now. I should have that. I apologize, but I will get those numbers to you. As Dr. Algaze mentioned, they haven't, been going gangbusters. It's been a sort of a slow and go as a project comes up. They will work toward that project, but we haven't had an overall mission statement to really get to the place where you'd be impressed. So we're working toward that.
Okay.
Is there any thoughts of having a campaign, some sort of campaign or anything, and have a goal to meet?
I think that's where that's where we are as we speak. That's why we're trying to add a couple more board members to create some, again, without any controversy of conflict of interest, making sure that these folks are earnestly working toward trying to raise funds to help the students and the teachers. So that's what we've been working on the last probably 2 months now. And then as I mentioned earlier, we hired a new board clerk to complement what Mr. Moore is doing on this side to help. And she's actually a dual role. She's actually also helping as a foundation specialist because she's had some background working with foundations. So she's going to help create that structure in order to do exactly what you're asking, to have a long-term plan.
Thank you.
All right. So then moving forward, the next section of the agenda is going to be the non-consent items or items for discussion. And here we are. And so this is the section where we'll be having the hearing in order to adopt the 4 policies that were brought before the board prior that had the first reading. This is the second reading and the adoption of those items, those 4 items.
And you may recall, again, during that stunning 2-hour class, if you will, on what we seek to do with governance, we now have in your proposed bylaws, which you'll see is another item here, we undertake rulemaking in development and establishment of policy. Rulemaking being a term of law defined by Chapter 120 of the Florida statutes. So when we have published a proposed policy that I believe is subject to 120 rulemaking, Chapter 120 requirements rulemaking, we ask to publish the proposed policy for the public to consume, to be available to them, or the revisions to a current policy. And then there has to be, I don't know if you recall, at least 28 days after that notice has got to expire before you come back before the board comes back to the item for purposes of considering its adoption. Before it adopts, it actually opens and closes a public hearing on each one of these items for adoption. And I'll walk you through that as well. But that's as a matter of course. And this is where you're going to have, although you have public comment baked into the board's typical agenda for its business meetings, there's a specific reservation for public comment in each one of these matters. So really you're opening up a hearing, not only for the board's discussion and deliberation, but to hear from any members of the public who seek to register comment on the matter. And then you close and decide. So that's just a little bit of a distinction here that we haven't experienced as a group yet. Just wanted to give you a heads up.
And so those 4 items are all there, one right after the other, to adopt.
So I do have one question on and I read through it, the homeless students policy. And I may have missed in reading. In order to use technology, does virtual school provide technology to a homeless kid to use if they're in Florida virtual schools?
That's actually one of the foundation's projects, is that they get the laptops, get refurbished laptops, get donated laptops, and get them to the students who need them, including the homeless students. Not just the homeless students, but there are other students as well who may need them.
Right, we call it the Laptops for Learners program, and it's actually one of the things that we are really hoping to ramp up with some additional board members and some focus on a project just like that. It's been a success, but only at a smaller level.
Okay.
Right, next up, if we can have Joe, we can have Kim back up here. A couple of finance matters. One is the budget amendment. And then the financial report information. The actual auditors will be here at the meeting on the 3rd in order to present the audit to the board. So Kim, we're discussing the audited financial report will be first, and then the budget amendment.
As promised, we are bringing to you the audited financial report for 2019-2020. And we're going to be asking for approval at the board meeting. At the board meeting, our auditors will be presenting their report to you. The auditors are Moore, Stevens, and Lovelace, CPAs, and they have audited the financial statements and have found that they were presented in conformity with U.S. generally accepted accounting principles, and there were no negative findings. For the fiscal year, overall, the net position increased $5.8 million during the 2019-2020 fiscal year. Total school reported revenues were $253.2 million. Of that amount, $222.7 million were generated by the governmental activities, and $30.5 million were generated from business type activities. The school's governmental funds reported an ending fund balance of $49.7 million.
94.7.
94.
What did I say?
The 49. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. 94.7 million. Just to give you an idea, on page 10 of the financial report, or page 12, where we report net position, the statement of net position. The accounts receivable for the entire organization was $10,497,491. So you can see the write-off is an approximately 1%, just to give you an idea. Is there any questions?
In general, we have an exit interview with the auditors, and great audit. Kim and their team do a fantastic job keeping the books.
How long has these auditors been with doing the audit for Florida virtual schools?
Moore, Stevens, and Lovelace, I believe the first term they were with us, we had a 5-year contract. It began in 2013 for 5 years, and then we went out for a bid, and they were awarded the RFP again. I think that was 2019. Before them, we had Carr, Riggs, and Ingram. And before Carr, Riggs, and Ingram, we had Cherry, Beckert, and Holland. So we have had 3 different auditing firms within my tenure here at FLVS.
And as looking back in the information you sent before, I mean, I always had good audit reports, so that's excellent.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And Kim, the next item is the budget amendment.
Okay. So we're bringing to the board budget amendment number 2. There's a lot of information in here, so bear with me. Because of the emergency order number 7 resulted in a decrease of the FEFP revenues to FLVS of approximately 46 million. However, revenues of the business type entities such as Partner Services Global and franchises, which are continuing to grow. In order to reflect this information, we are bringing to the board budget changes presented in budget amendment number 2. So do you want to go over the spreadsheet, Dr. Algaze, or do you just want me to talk about the highlights?
Just go ahead and speak to the highlights.
Okay. Regarding the general fund, there's an approximate decrease in FEFP dollars, which, as you remember, that's our Fuller Education Finance Program of approximately 45.8 million. We also anticipate a decrease in the overall full-time completions of 20,336 completions, which results in approximately 7.9 decrease in FEFP revenue earnings. Regarding the budgeted expenditures in the general fund, the budget services team was able to identify approximately $23 million in decreases. This is due to the following: teacher lapse. Once staffing positions and costs are budgeted, it takes approximately 45 days to fill a position. Based on the expenditures to date, plus payroll obligations to the end of the year, it is estimated that approximately 14.4 million in teacher lapse. There is about approximately 14.4 million in teacher lapse. This amount includes salaries, benefits such as FRS and health insurance. Other decreases in expenditures because of the full-time program is the estimated completions are going to be downward, approximately decrease of 5.4 million in budgeted appropriations due to the elimination of 78 unfilled teacher positions. So these are all unfilled. So we're not going to fill those, we're going to eliminate them. Other items that contribute to the decrease in projected spend include purchase services such as contracted labor, travel, licensing, and rentals. As a result of these changes, the general fund ending balance decreased by approximately 27.6 million. We had initially projected it would be 100.7 million, but we're revising that to approximately 73 million. For the Partner Services Global, FLVS anticipates additional sales in the amount of 17.1 million with no change in projected expenditures. As a result of these changes, Global Services projected ending fund balance is approximately going to increase 17.1 million. Global School anticipates a decrease in billable enrollments of 660, which is a decrease of approximately $277,000 in revenue. Revised salary and benefits projections resulted in a decrease in the amount of $332,000 for budgeted appropriations. As a result of these changes, Global Schools' budgeted ending fund balance increased by approximately $54.8 thousand. Partner Services franchises. FLVS anticipates additional franchise billable enrollments of 260,973 completion billable enrollments, which will result in about 13.5 million in revenue. Total appropriations were revised down by 66,000. As a result of these changes, franchises budgeted ending fund balance increased by approximately 13.6 million. Regarding our special revenue fund, on November the 6th, 2020, FLVS received a federal through state award in the amount of $4,974,822.71. The purpose of these funds is to provide a virtual safety net during the COVID-19 pandemic by enhancing the school's existing LMS and to provide virtual teacher training to the LMS for Florida's school teachers. FLVS also received another small grant on January the 1st, 2021 in the amount of $63,000 that is also related to the ESSER and the CARES Act. As a note, FLVS had already received 2 grants related to the CARES in the amount of $711,857 and another small one of $65,720. This was included in the adopted budget, which was approved in September. The result of changes that I just mentioned overall, the total school's estimated revenue decreased by approximately $18,000.3 million. The total school's projected budgeted.
Kim, could you give that value again?
Yes. The total school's estimated revenue decreased by approximately $18.3 million. That's the school, including the general fund and the business type activities, the enterprise funds. The total school's projected budgeted expenditures, however, decreased by $21.4 million. This is due because of the revised projections for mostly salaries and the teacher lapse. This results in an increase in budgeted fund balance in the amount of $3.1 million. So instead of projecting $147.9 million, we think that the ending fund balance will be $151.0 million. $151 million. So even though we lost some funds through the FEFP program, we also gained, we think we're going to gain some revenues through our business type activities. But we also found some budgeted expenditures that we could revise downward as well, mostly salaries.
What do you, the decrease in the general fund, that decrease in completions of 20,000 plus, what do you attribute that to?
That goes back to that emergency order.
Okay.
Emergency order 6, that they're only going to pay us from whatever was January of 2019 for the first half. And then the second half, they pay us the half of what we actually are making. But when that happened, you remember we had the conversation, and then we implemented some saving strategies here.
Yeah.
And the instructional staff has done an amazing job of being able to service our students and not have to hire additional teachers. So we were able to save a lot of that revenue. So our expenditures were less than we were planning initially, so less than budgeted. And then also our revenue from the business sources, the global and primarily global and also franchise, we're able to offset a lot of the decrease from the FEFP from the state. So we're a little bit ahead of where we were before COVID, is what we're expecting by the end of the year.
Good.
Did we get any CARES or ESSER monies that made up the difference?
Not yet, and what we are going to be receiving is not going to be anywhere near the 40 million. You might be getting like 2.8, I believe, somewhere in that neighborhood, possibly, from what the projections are. So that'll be additional. It's not here in this amendment because we don't have it yet. But we are going to, legislatively see if there's anything else that can be done to help make up for some of that.
And just to clarify for the board, the EOs that were done, that was for Florida only. So the impact that we felt in the fall based upon EO 6 was just limited to Florida students.
Correct.
Now, on the care, did we receive CARES Act money in the first round?
Yes, and that's on this report under the special revenue section, the ESSER. That was a 4.9 million that was allotted to us. And then we also received approximately 700, almost 800,000 additional from that.
Because on the second round, I know that online education was included in the second round because that, in terms of Riddle, the first round was only for residential students, but then the second round also included to help out for students that were online. So I'm not sure whether that was down to K through 12 as well.
It doesn't seem like it.
Okay.
And I think the legislature is currently trying to figure out with the governor how to divvy up a lot of that money. I think for the school districts, they've already come up with, the formula that they're using to fund based on the number of Title I students. But all those other additional funds, I think they're trying to figure out what to do with it right now.
Okay. Good.
All right. So that's the budget amendment. And then after that, we go ahead and move over to.
Dr. Ray, can we
Yes.
ask if Mike's on the phone, we potentially at least make the issue in the legislature to ask for a true up based upon the shift in students from traditional districts to Florida virtual during the fall to see if we can request a true up response from the legislature?
That's exactly where we're heading. Those are the exact same steps that we actually finalized discussions yesterday, Sam and I, in terms of getting Mike to start those conversations with the legislative folks.
Thank you.
Good.
All right. So then on the agenda, back to the agenda, we have the general council comments, reports, and presentations, and then closing and adjournment, closing remarks by me, and then back to you all in order to close out the meeting. That'll be the final part of the March 3rd meeting. So back to you, Chair.
Okay. I guess we can cancel that down now and go back to the full screen. There we go. All right. Okay. Well, thank you. And that was informative, and I appreciate those comments and helping us understand what's up on the agenda coming up. So thank you, Dr. Alvarez. Board members, do you have any additional questions or comments on any of these agenda items, or any general comments you'd like to make? Vice Chair?
No, I just want to say thank you again. This is, you guys do a great job of putting this together and explaining. So just thank you. Yep.
Board member Bazuli?
Ditto on Linda's comments.
Okay, and board member Kamala Harris?
No, I'm in the same camp. Apologize for my screen today. I had knee replacement a little less than 3 weeks ago, so I'm hobbling around here trying to get comfortable. So apologize for my on and off screen stuff, but I've been listening the whole time.
And I would echo everything that's said. I mean, I really appreciate all the hard work and everything you put into it. And it has been, a short time for us to be on the board. So I know there's a lot of just catching up and learning the processes. So a lot of the questions come from just not being fully versed in how FLVS operates at the moment and with different things. So as we go further through this and get more comfortable, we'll get more understanding of it. But I appreciate your patience with us, and as we go forward, and all the agenda items are well prepared, and I think clearly defined and outlined. So it positions us well for the board meeting on March 2nd to go through all of the items smoothly without any adjustments to it. So with that, I will pass over, since the board members have had the opportunity for remarks, I'll pass it over to Dr. Alvarez. Do you have any closing remarks?
No, once again, thank you for your service. You guys are quick learners, thank God. And we do have a whole lot of other workshop ideas we'd like to bring to you in order to bring you up to speed, but we do want to be respectful of your time and not, every week meet with you to try to give you some information. So as you ask for things like you've done today, we'll make sure to get those to you. And then there are some of the other ideas as time unfurls. We'll bring it up to you to see if you'd like to hear about it.
And I appreciate that, because I mean, the workshops have been very beneficial to me in terms of understanding, even though, being in higher education and being in education and being an online division of it from the tertiary side, hearing how FLVS do it, it really is enlightening. And I get some ideas as well that I can take to our side of the house as well. So I appreciate that. Our general counsel, any closing remarks?
Well, only this to add, and I know that we're using the word loosely, the workshops. For the public's knowledge, I think what we're referring to is the one-on-one calls. Actually, I call them 3 or more on one calls with each of our wonderful board members. Those, any meeting of 2 or more, where 2 or more are gathered, these things are noticed, and it's either going to be an actual board workshop, such as today, or a quarterly/business meeting. And since I'm at it, I got to tell you how thrilled I am. As well, Dr. Algaze suffers humility, something I don't suffer, obviously. He's a humble guy. Let me tell you, you all know all the hard work that went into the DOE recommendations, the top to bottom audit, the reboot of governance, and so on and so forth. One of the things, the objectives that resonates with this group truly in a genuine and profound way is to make our services truly accessible to every kid in every corner of our state, and include and strive for accessibility for ESE kids. And you can see from what was presented to you today, this leadership team is well on its way to improving upon that. And I know that that's near and dear to all of you, but particularly to Madam Co-Chair. With respect to accessibility for ESE kids, to continuously improve upon their education. I also wanted to thank you, as Dr. A said, you are all eager and quick learners, certainly much quicker than I. So we really do appreciate that. We really do appreciate the expertise, the unique expertise that you bring to the table that I certainly lack. So, and I just wanted to underscore again for the public that as it has been noted by the chair, the board meeting was originally set for February 23, is reset for March 2. Notice of the same is provided. And just wanted to make that very clear for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Agate. So this concludes today's agenda review workshop. And again, I really thank everyone who has attended and prepared us for today's meeting. And as always, I want to thank my fellow board members for their leadership and the entire Florida Virtual School staff. And I mean, I can't say again how good it has been working with you and hearing all what goes on to make Florida Virtual Schools successful to the students, because ultimately that's what we're here. We're here for education to all through a non-traditional way to do it. And it's very successful, and the dedication of the staff to make that happen is good. So thank you to everyone. And as indicated, we will reconvene again on March 2nd for the board meeting. So in the meantime, I stand adjourned for this meeting. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye, thanks.
Bye.